Hello, welcome to today's devotional. Hope you're having a great day. We're here in Proverbs chapter 8, verse 31 today. I've been working our way through the book of Proverbs. And in case this is a one off video for you or you haven't been joining along the way, um, I just want to say that this book, Proverbs in the Old Testament of the Bible, it's a book of wisdom. The whole point of this book is to teach humans God's wisdom, like how God sees it. And so the whole book is intended as an instruction manual about wisdom, and so it's really good. Now there's lots of otherworldly philosophies out there about what is wise and what isn't wise, but Proverbs is presenting a godly view, how God views this whole thing. And so as Christians, we believe that this is God's way. And so this is what we turn to learn to grow in wisdom. And it's really important. And the thought that there is a book in the Bible devoted to that is in and of itself a rather significant thing. That there is, there's 66 books in the Bible. The collection we have is 66 books. There's different parts of the world, different translations, and all that stuff. But it's collected from these ancient texts and divided in this way for us. And one of those divisions is the book of Proverbs, devoted to helping us understand wisdom. It's a really important subject. And so here we are in verse 31 of chapter 8. And throughout chapter 8, it's presenting some of the teaching as if wisdom is a woman talking to you and speaking to you and saying, wisdom is a relationship. It's not just a series and a set of facts, set of, do this, that'll happen, like recipes, but it's an actual relationship. And it's a relationship with God, but it's a relationship with the things and the way God made wisdom to work. And so it's something that you do in your life that flexes to every situation you're in. When you learn the principles of wisdom, then you can apply them to all these different areas of your life. It's a really deep and important idea. And a lot of the searching through the book of Proverbs requires us to kind of delve into it and think about it and learn from it and grow in it. It doesn't happen automatically. You don't just know wisdom because you read the book. You have to learn to apply it and take your whole life in the disciplines of learning and searching out what Proverbs teaches us. That's all part of it. As we work through this chapter 8, we got to 31, and wisdom has been saying to us all these ways that nature and God's creation was made with wisdom, how it was made to be a place of reason and a place of order and a place of cause and effect that we could understand, and of morality and beauty and all these things. And in verse 31, she says, rejoicing in the world, her rejoicing in the world, his earth, God's earth, and having my delight in the sons of men. It's this idea that wisdom is satisfied. Now, wisdom is not a person, but is presented as if wisdom was this woman saying, "I'm satisfied with this. I'm happy with the world God made. It works for me, right? It works. It's His earth, but it's made with wisdom." And having delight in the sons of men is wisdom saying, I see that humans are made for wisdom. They're made to have this relationship with wisdom, whereas the lions and the zebras and the guinea pigs and the birds and all, they run by instinct. They don't run by wisdom. They're the result of wise creation, and so there's wisdom in that. But humans can be the practitioners of wisdom. Wisdom rejoices in the world, but has delight in the sons of men. That we're able to actually act in wisdom. And it's a really awesome thing. The world works the way God made it. Here's a little thought that may seem so obvious and yet so often is missed. God made the world to work a certain way, a wise and orderly way. And it works really well. And when people follow God's ways, then we find ourselves in harmony with the world He made. Now, the world has issues. There's things that are flawed in the world, but that's not because of God's failure. That's because of ours. And there's lots of things in the world that sometimes are difficult or whatever. But God did make the world in such a way that it will flow. It works when we follow His way. It works, and when we don't follow His way, it doesn't work. We end up with all kinds of troubles, all kinds of problems, even more so than might naturally come in life. And it's just better when we follow God's way, because wisdom rejoices in the God in the world that He made. Wisdom works in the world we made and delights in us. When we have the relationship with wisdom that God has with wisdom, then we live in harmony with His world. You can't just make the world whatever you want it to be by wanting it to be that way. You can't just decide that you think this should be what happens, right? There's a famous saying that Jesus said, that you reap what you sow. And it seems, once again, seems so obvious, but we reap what we sow. So if I plant a seed that's supposed to grow into corn, I shouldn't be mystified by the corn showing up. I shouldn't think, well, I wanted it to be, bananas. Well, then you should have planted bananas. I know that seems so obvious, and yet so many areas of our life we fail to see that God made the world with a logical and orderly way, that if you plant something, you will reap that thing. And if you plant something else, you will reap the other thing. And this works in the positive, but it also works in the negative. If we plant seeds of goodness with other humans, then we will reap goodness with our relationships with other humans. But if we put seeds of dispute and hostility with other humans, then we will reap disputes and hostility from other humans. And so this idea of reaping and sowing, of the world made with order and sense and wisdom, it applies to our world. But if we think that I should be able to treat others however I want to, but they all have to treat me the way I want them to, then we're defying the idea of reaping and sowing. If I want others to treat me with respect, I need to treat them with respect. If I treat them with disrespect, I should expect disrespect in return. Right? That should just come, because that's naturally the flow of things. And this applies to, obviously, social situations, to the world of physics, but it applies to so much of our world, to our psychology, to how we even handle our own minds and emotions. The whole concept of God made a world to work a certain way. And as we learn His wisdom, we can walk in that way, and then we can reap the goodness of that way. But if we deny it and we walk our own way, then wisdom doesn't rejoice in us, doesn't delight in us. We are in opposition to her. Then we will have the opposite of wisdom in our life. We'll have folly, and we'll have disaster. We won't have morality. We'll have immorality. And we won't have beauty. We'll have ugliness. And it's just the way it works. What it means for you, and reason to talk about this, is just to remind us, and we need to regularly remind ourselves. These early chapters of Proverbs, there's a lot of ideas about thinking about how we make decisions. And then when we get to chapter 10 and beyond, we're going to learn a whole bunch of individual wisdom, proverbial wisdoms. But if we can start by learning how to think well, learning the fear of the Lord, learning the decision of which path I want to take, learning that what I reap I sow, learning that God made the world to work a certain way and made me to work. When we learn that, it's because, how do I make decisions? Do I make decisions more from instinct, like an animal, more from instinct and just the whims I'm in at the moment, the moods that are hitting me, the emotions I have, the desires I have? Are all these things the way I make decisions? Or is the wisdom of God, that proper, true, right wisdom of God, the thing that I'm using to make all of the most important and even the mundane decisions of my life? And that's the thing. Wisdom delights in the sons of men, delights in you when you're wise, rejoices in the world that God made, and wants us all to work in harmony with it and live in harmony with the way God made. So that's the idea here. Verse 32 next time. God bless you in the meantime. Take care.